Hey everybody, night number 6 of Pennsylvania Sprint Speedweek is in the books. Tonight we were at Port Royal Speedway. We had 44 410 sprint cars. We also had the URC 360 sprint cars as a supporting class tonight. But anyway, let's get right into the rundown. Starting things off in time trials, Flight A, top 5 included Chase Dietz, James McFadden, Troy Wagaman Jr., Justin Whittall, and Tanner Holmes. Your Flight B top 5 in time trials included Anthony Macri, Logan Wagner, Parker Price Miller, Ryan Smith, and Brock Zierfoss. Anthony Macri ended up being the fastest overall, beating out Chase Dietz for the title. Heading into heat race number 1, we saw Troy Wagaman Jr. and Tanner Holmes on the front row. Wagaman got out to the early lead. Chase Dietz quickly moved up to third. Further back in the pack, Logan Rumsey went from 9th to P6 on lap number 1. Then the field began spreading out. The track was still pretty young, pretty tacky still, so not a whole lot else happened. Chase Dietz bobbled and was under fire from Kerry Madsen, but Dietz was able to hold him off. Brady Bacon also bobbled in nearly the same spot. He allowed Rumsey to close in for the final transfer, but Bacon held on for that. Troy Wagaman took home the win, followed by Tanner Holmes, Chase Dietz, Kerry Madsen, and Brady Bacon. Heat number 2 saw Justin Whittall and Billy Dietrich on the front row. Billy Dietrich got out to the early lead into turn number 1, but James McFadden was rim riding and took the lead out of turn number 2, starting from 4th, and he flew away with that. Justin Whittall was still trying to get by Billy Dietrich further back out. The field began to spread out again. Justin Whittall made a mistake, which allowed Ryan Newton to close in, but Whittall slammed the door on him. Ryan Taylor and Lance DeWeese went to battle for a short period of time for the final transfer spot. Ryan Taylor was able to hold him off, and DeWeese bobbled out of turn number 2 the next lap. James McFadden took home the win and got the knockout bonus, followed by Billy Dietrich, Justin Whittall, Ryan Newton, and Ryan Taylor. Heat number 3 saw Parker Price Miller and Brock Zierfoss on the front row. Parker Price Miller got out to the early race lead. Anthony Macri quickly jumped up to third. Not a whole lot happened after that. Mark Smith went to battle with Michael Walter and several other cars further back. Macri and Zierfoss battled for a little bit, but Zierfoss was able to hold on to the second spot. Mark Smith eventually got the final transfer, and that was it for passing for that race. Parker Price Miller won heat number 3, followed by Brock Zierfoss, Anthony Macri, Brent Shearer, and Mark Smith held off Buddy Schweibens for the final transfer spot. Your 4th and final heat race of the night saw Ryan Smith and Doug Hammaker on the front row. Smith got out to the early race lead, but Freddie Raymer got an amazing start, jumped up to second for just a moment, and Hammaker shut the door on him. Danny Dietrich did not get a very good start, and he fell back to 8th on the original start. He eventually did get back to 7th place, and he was pretty much battling Dallas Schott all race. The field began to spread out. Dietrich tried again for the 6th spot and couldn't get there, and eventually he was able to get by Dallas Schott for the position, but it was not enough for a transfer. Ryan Smith won heat number 4, followed by Doug Hammaker, Freddie Raymer, Logan Wagner, and Preston Latimus. B main number 1 saw Lance DeWeese and Logan Rumsey on the front row. DeWeese got out to the early lead as Rumsey settled into the 2nd spot. Dylan Cisney and Jake Carklin almost made contact. Both of them got into the rough stuff. While that was going on, Matt Campbell looked for the 5th position. He could not get there, and that allowed TJ Stutz to close in and try to get a move on Campbell, but was unsuccessful. The field spreads out again, and that was pretty much it for passing until Jake Carklin slowed down and brought out the caution. On the restart, Dylan Cisney and Ricky Peterson went to battle, and Lance DeWeese began slowing out of turns 3 and 4 on the white flag lap. That allowed Logan Rumsey to steal that spot, and he was able to win the B main, followed by Lance DeWeese, who had the final transfer. B main number 2 saw Cody Lehman and Buddy Schweibens on the front row. On the initial start, Michael Walter jumped it after going 3 wide pretty much right off the bat, so they had to call it back. The second attempt went better. Cody Lehman got out to the early lead. Michael Walter settled into 3rd. Danny Dietrich tried to battle back, but he couldn't get around Walter. And then he got into the rough stuff, which allowed Mikey Thompson to close in, but Thompson couldn't make a move. Dietrich closes back in on Michael Walter again, but still can't get by. And at this point, the field is already extremely spread out. So that was pretty much it for passing for that race. On the final lap, coming out of turns 3 and 4, Buddy Schweibens caught Cody Lehman, but he couldn't get by, so Lehman took home the win, and Buddy Schweibens settled into 2nd. And then it was feature time. At this point, the racing was not really up to code for how Port Royal usually is, but that was because of how humid it is, and that was really playing effect on how the track changed. The track was still extremely tacky up to this point. Even Port trying to make the track wider didn't really help a whole lot because it still stayed tacky. But anyways, it was feature time. James McFadden and Anthony Macri started on the front row next to each other. Heading down into turn number 1, Anthony Macri took the early lead, and Tanner Holmes made an early move on Ryan Smith to get to the 7th spot. At first, there were battles going on pretty much all over the track, but it did start to slow down as we got 2 laps in. Logan Wagner made a move on Parker Price Miller, but eventually Miller was able to get back by. The field began to spread out, and Freddie Rammer spun in turn number 4, causing the first caution. We go back to green, but hold on, not so fast. Brady Bacon slams into the wall going into turn number 1, which brought out the red flag after the car tipped over. Brady ended up being okay after the incident, but it was still a very violent crash. Macri got back out to the lead on the next restart. Tanner Holmes and Ryan Smith continued battling for the 6th spot, and Holmes just couldn't get by him. We started to reach lap traffic, and James McFadden bobbles and allowed Chase Dietz to get by for 2nd. Supposedly, after a lapped car nearly got into him, Chase Dietz begins to reel in Anthony Macri, but the caution comes back out. Brent Shearer loses a right front tire. It goes flying into the abyss, never to be seen again, which brings out the caution at the halfway point. We went back to green with 15 laps to go. Macri got back out to the lead, and further back, Tanner Holmes, Ryan Smith, and Brock Zierfoss began battling for the 6th spot. Eventually, Tanner Holmes got the best of that battle, and he was just playing defense the rest of the race. There were still some battles going on, but not really a whole lot, as the field began to settle down until about 5 laps to go. Chase Dietz was starting to reel in Macri because he couldn't get by the slower car of Buddy Schweibens. With 3 to go, Schweibens made a mistake in turns 3 and 4, right in Macri's lane, forcing him to check up, and that allowed Dietz to make the move to get by Macri and take home the win. So Chase Dietz got the win, followed by Anthony Macri, James McFadden, Troy Wagaman Jr., and Parker Price Miller. So as you can probably guess, after the race, Macri was not too happy with Buddy Schweibens. After the checker flag flew, Macri got in front of the 35 car and brake checked him, showing his displeasure with the 35 team. And personally, I don't blame him. Macri led every single lap of the race up until that point. And Macri is in a serious points battle with Chase Dietz, who actually just won the race, so that put Macri a little bit further back in points as Dietz took home the win. But that was going to do it for racing action for the 410 sprint cars. The URC sprints still had to go, but we left before Chase Dietz even could climb on top of the wing. And I don't cover the support classes anyways, so. But yeah, that's going to do it for your recap tonight. I have a feeling that Hagerstown will be the deciding factor. Maybe not the deciding factor, but it could be a huge play in how this points battle finishes. We'll have to see what happens. Thank you all so much for watching. I will not be at Hagerstown tomorrow because it is way too freaking hot, and that track has almost no shade. So if you are going to Hagerstown, stay hydrated, be safe out there, and enjoy the race. Have a great night, everyone. That's going to do it for me. Chris Kraft, signing out.